Welcome to Community Convocation, the opening event of Commencement weekend. Congratulations to the class of 2021. I remember when I was you and the sweet smell of the rain and the whispers in the fresh cut. Oh, I'm screaming as loud as I can. Hello, hello, hello. Can you hear me now? We lost audio. Time out on the field. Oh, there we go. Now let's try that again. Thank you. Woo! Let's get a little echo. I remember when I was you, and the sweet smell of the rain and the whispers in the fresh cut grass were the precursors of Commencement weekend. Back then, Community Convocation was called the Senior Faculty Dinner, and I invited my instructor in Italian. For most of the time we strolled toward the event together, he continued to speak to me in Italian. I know he wanted to feel that his efforts with me in class had been worthwhile. I acknowledged every topic in our conversation with appropriate verb tenses, including excellent repartee using el modo soggiuntivo. As we walked together, I began recruiting some of my friends to join us, and eventually my instructor in Italian became aware that I was straggling behind the group. He casually reached back, grabbed me by the ear, and asked me to join him in singing an Italian song, which was part of our daily class participation. We sang together in Italian with my friends, mumbling along, and made our way to the opening event of Commencement weekend. My Italian teacher and I remained friends for many years after Commencement. I remember when I was you and considered the walk up to campus from my dormitory and alumni house as a true privilege, because we had the advantage of observing the natural beauty of the campus come to life each morning. The honor of that daily promenade was identified and designated by my cluster dean, who regularly corrected my grammar. My cluster dean made sure I went periodically to the Addison Gallery and attended some cultural activity each week. He expected a report from me at Cluster Munch on Wednesday nights. Sadly, back then, we didn't have CAMD, but we had AFLAT-AM. And the members of AFLAT-AM sponsored speakers and discussions to help Andover, at the time, with our anti-racist initiatives. Back then, the Black feminist movement was underway. The purpose of the movement was to meet the needs of Black women who felt they were racially oppressed in the women's movement and sexually oppressed in the Black liberation movement, and to take action to stop racist, sexist, and class discrimination. My cluster dean hosted forums for the AFLAT-AM, and I was friends with my cluster dean for many years after Commencement. I remember when I was you and our prom was in Peresky Commons. The songs at the top of the billboard during prom were Reunited by Peaches and Herb, Hot Stuff by Donna Summer, and Love You Inside Out by the Bee Gees. For context, at the top of the charts today is Rap Star by Polo G, Interlude by J. Cole, and Good For You by Olivia Rodrigo. We thought we were so cool dancing to the disco music of Saturday Night Fever and Lower Right. We partner danced, we line danced, and everyone just danced, including the faculty chaperones. Let me say for the record, there is nothing better than a vigorous line dance with all your friends. And if you ever heard of Doing the Hustle, you know what I'm talking about. After prom, we walked home in groups, taking the long way home, of course, through the damp mist to Alumni House, where our house counselor greeted us with hot chocolate and cookies. I have been friends with my house counselor for many years after Commencement. I remember when I was you, and the next day after prom, our boys and girls mile relay teams competed in the all-New England track meet. Our coaches had driven a vintage, oversized rally wagon to New England's. At the time, the boys on the mile relay team referred to me as Blue. The name was given to me as a nod to my blue-collar background. By the time we reached New England's, as the anchor leg of that mile relay team, the name Blue had conjured something a little different. We were friends with our track coaches for many years after commencement, and one of them still serves on the faculty. I remember when I was you, and the tickets to baccalaureate were the hottest in town. Once the music began and the eloquent and soulful speeches were given, we bathed in the candlelight of our youth, and we welled up with emotions from the beauty of seeing rows and rows of our friends in the chapel on the last night we would all be together. Then the sun came up on commencement morning, and we walked together one last time up the hill from Alumni House, and we regarded the privilege of seeing the campus come alive just one more time. After commencement, we were utterly exhausted and emotionally drained, and we shared the sad feelings of not knowing when we would all see each other again. We hugged and we said goodbye, and we were sure it had all gone way too fast. We have all been friends for many years after commencement. I remember when I was you, and I just wanted to slow it all down. But that's not how it works. You see, on that fateful day at New England's, Blue was expected to run as fast as I ever had in my life. And when I turned the bend for the final sprint to the finish, out of the corner of my eye, I saw my instructor in Italian running alongside me screaming, "Volare, Giacomino, volare! Fly, Jimmy, fly!" I remember when I was you, and I was given a chance to fall in love with Andover. I remember when I was you, and I thought I could fly because the people around me at Andover made me feel that way. Congratulations to the class of 2021, and thank you. Bennett, our next speaker is on his way.
Hello. My upper year, I had Dr. Kane for English 300. In the dead of winter term, he assigned F. Scott Fitzgerald's The Great Gatsby. The jazz-age novel follows the elusive millionaire, James Gatz, in his attempts to attain the unobtainable. He pursues, and spoiler alert, ultimately falls short of wooing the beautiful Daisy Buchanan, a failure that is symbolized by the green light across the bay eventually losing its beauty. A lot of us here have probably heard Fitzgerald's novel hailed as the great American novel. It is the most high-selling novel from its publishing company, and it is now part of most schools' curriculum. Yet, it may come as a surprise to hear that Great Gatsby was not so great in 1925 as it is today. What Fitzgerald had hoped would be one of his best works horribly flopped in sales. In short, it was Cat's 2019 bad. These shortcomings upset the novelist very much. A work he had poured so much of his heart and his time into was not receiving the acclaim he hoped it would. In an ironic way, both Fitzgerald and his titular character experienced quite a letdown, falling short of their own hopes and expectations. I think many of us at Andover have probably experienced a similar feeling of disappointment. From the very moment we step on campus, bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, we all place our own set of high expectations on ourselves. When we inevitably do not meet these expectations, we are very quick to deem ourselves a failure. I've had many of these moments since coming to Andover. There were plenty of bombed Russian quizzes and more than a couple tests. I received enough 60s on physics quizzes to make me want to drop the class. Still could not tell you what special relativity is. I have been left enough scathing comments about my usage of passive voice in history papers. And to be frank, I'm not 100% sure what that means. And nowhere was my own failure more prominent than in the diving well, as any member of the team could attest. Too many times I've popped my head above the water after a dive to hear a profound silence and look over to see a shocked, confused, and somewhat horrified faces from the judges. To sum up my Andover diving career in a few words, I was once told by our lovely coach that, quote, "Every time you dive, it makes me want to cry," end quote. I was not living up to the expectations I had set for myself. I deemed myself a failure. It seems I was not shaping up to be the perfect Andover student. They must have accidentally admitted the wrong Bennett Peas, I thought. Yet, as the years progressed, I began to grow into myself here. The most important breakthrough I had was getting over the stigma of failing. Once I lost the high expectations I had placed on myself, I learned that failure was a non-issue. It was not something to be shameful of, I was beginning to learn that as long as I tried my hardest, I could be successful in my own right. We come into Andover with very rigid definitions of success: academic success, career success, success in life. It is a very inflexible path we have set for ourselves. We must achieve this success. But once you get over that fear of failing, we're able to redefine success in our own terms. I'm certainly not graduating with a perfect 6.0. I did not play tri-varsity sports. I tried out for Blue Key Head last spring and did not get it. And I certainly did not do well on my calculus final last week. But I found my own success at Andover. I learned that no matter the grade, the importance was learning. I found I could cheer on our sports team from inside the Gunga suit. No offense to the math department and the wonderful teachers I've had over the past 4 years, but calculus is not something I plan on using in my life. And I'm pleasantly surprised at the progress I've made as a diver. And I got better as the years went on, even though the bar started on the floor. To me, progress, no matter how small, was success. And I hope that before graduation, everyone here will be able to recognize that we all have found our own success. For some of us, it was academic success. Some were able to live through 4 years on Philippian, a feat I can't imagine accomplishing. Some of us have the keen ability to make the day a little better for anyone they interact with. For all of us, we can find success in the fact that we all made it through Andover. Some of us floated by, some of us crawled to the end, some did a little mix of both. But no matter how we got here, we all have done it. So no matter what it is, there is some success that have come out of these 4 years. Even in the whirlwind of Andover career we have had, with gas explosions and Zoom schools, we all have been able to grow and progress, as students, and most importantly, as people. And no matter how many times we experienced failure while we were here, we always have these successes to be proud of. To use the words of F. Scott Fitzgerald, in any case, you must not confuse a single failure for a final defeat. Falling down one time does not mean that you will never be able to get back up. In fact, it means you will become more resilient than you were before. You can go forward with toughness, but still a certain air of vulnerability. And most importantly, we can go forward without the fear of failure, because we know that it is failure that gives us strength. This is the lesson we all have learned. I could not have learned this without the help of everyone here today. To Miss Ainsworth, Dr. Dahm, Miss Staff, Mr. Turek, Dr. Kane, Miss A, Miss Zader, Mr. Zader, Miss Barsagoff, and the entire Andover faculty. You taught me not to be afraid to fall down because I knew there were always people like you standing by me to pick me back up. Fitzgerald never got the chance to watch his initially failed novel blossom into a staple of American literature. He never got to know that eventually all of his hard work would be appreciated. Today, he is not defined by his failures, but instead his ultimate success. So, in honor of Fitzgerald, let us recognize that failure teaches us resiliency, and we all have our own little successes to be proud of. I've failed plenty of times in my life, and I will most certainly fail plenty more. I've also succeeded many more times than I may have realized, and we all have. Come Sunday, these successes and failures will all be something of the past. but that does not mean that their lessons should be. Thank you, Andover, for teaching me this, and here's to many more years of failures.
Okay, here we go. A 1, 2, 3, 4.
Can everybody hear me? Can we get another round of applause for the jazz band? Okay. All right. I'm flipping through the pages, so bear with me. Okay. I think this is it. Alrighty. Hi, everybody. It's so nice to see everybody together. You know, I feel like this is the first time since we've all been gathered as a class, as a whole faculty in person. And I feel like, I think this is usually in the chapel. We should have run in, 21 flag in hand, banging on the bleachers, you know? But anyways, if we haven't met, Bianca Rodriguez Pagano. I use she, her pronouns, and I think on campus I'm known as a peer educator with Yes Plus, maybe? Or, yeah, shout out to Yes Plus. Or a big musical theater or music performance enthusiast. Or maybe host of the now dead Philippian Live. RIP. But I'd like to think that in our community, I'm seen as a friendly face on campus. You know, that kid who never fails to wave maybe over-enthusiastically to you on the path, or open their arms and unhesitantly gift you the tightest hug on your rainiest day. It's definitely because I come from a Puerto Rican and Italian family. A mezcla, or mix, of two cultures that I think truly prioritize family and do so through their volubility, rowdiness, and above all, so many hugs and so many kisses. So my affection for affection, if I could put it that way, my inclination to greet acquaintances with hugs or kiss a friend on the forehead, was something I was very afraid I would lose coming to Andover, you know, especially because I was entering what I considered a highly competitive environment. I assumed, and I knew in my gut, that every freshman would be focused on acing their courses, climbing up the social ladder, and finding success as a star on stage as a dancer, a singer, or on the field as a student athlete. And when I first got here, when I was first settling in, I felt it. Meeting new freshmen in the basement of the library, I introduced myself to students who pulled away from hugs, replacing them instead with firm handshakes. And I met other students who had completely shunned the idea of being able to say, "I love you," even to their friends. And it frustrated me. It really did. I was completely taken aback by the idea that, whether by repressing their emotions or being raised in a family who believed in displaying love through subtleties, people felt uncomfortable, scared even, to love and be loved. And I was stuck on this idea for a long time, you know, that you had to display affection or be touchy with someone to love them. Actually, and this is kind of funny, I think a lot of people in my grade thought I was flirting with them because I was so affectionate. And I promise, this is going somewhere, so bear with me. So my freshman fall, right, I played a little boy. Yeah, I'm saying little boy in the school musical Ragtime. And my role matched my personality that year perfectly, in extrovertedness, volume, and perhaps aligned with the fact that too many times I have a potty mouth and no filter. But at the core of the show, as the faculty on board put it, is the message that love is the answer to everything. And I'm not sure if that's entirely true for my Math 578 class, but you know, let's run with it. The show itself was dark. It was about a black man in the early 1900s trying to win back his partner and son, befriending an extremely privileged and blissfully ignorant white family, and eventually facing the overt and systemic racism present then and still existing in America today. At the end of the show, he dies a tragic, albeit valiant death at the hands of the police, even after he ensures them he is no threat. It was touching, timely, and extremely emotionally demanding of all the members on the cast. And to me, it gave music meaning. It was the first time I discovered love and a call for justice could be epitomized in something other than material goods or physical interactions. And then, my lower spring, along came Yes Plus. As young as I felt I was, I became part of a group who dedicated themselves to teaching those, younger and older, about consent and the intersectionality between race, gender, sexuality, and, well, sex. And of course, I relished in the opportunity to educate, to ease the tension that existed in acknowledging that, yeah, high school hookup culture exists. Once again, I found myself enwrapped in a community full of laughter, innuendos, and love. From spending Sunday nights in Hale or Stimson, breaking down consent and how to communicate with your partner, to welcoming the entire school community to learn how to use condoms, finger cots, and dental dams at Cupcakes and Condoms, I once again learned what it meant from peers and from the wonderful guidance of Dr. Esty and Dr. Vidal, that I could show love through words, with consistent and effective communication, and by sharing my knowledge, sex-related or not, with others in the same manner. This year, above all others, my bandwidth for love has been put to the test. I found myself detached from the school community, from those I wished I could hug every morning before class, from those I wished I could protect from the social horrors of police brutality and the Capitol riots we, and I mean specifically my BIPOC friends and peers, experienced this summer and carried with us into the 2020-21 school year. My passion for sharing love and educating depleted. I walked onto campus in the fall drained of any emotion or penchant to really learn, to truly love something new. And I carried this feeling, this dragging of my feet to class and into all of my relationships. You know, a majority of the time I spent around friends, I was really absent. For the first time, I didn't feel the urge to greet others with tight squeezes. Maybe it was because I really couldn't. I failed to show up mentally for faculty in class and friends as I ventured into tents for the term. In fact, it got so bad to the point where one of my best friends stopped talking to me. The point where I was so unattentive both to our friendship and to my own well-being that I barely noticed. And when I did, I felt indifferent to reaching out. And this may be me being superstitious, but in the 2 months we didn't speak, reminders of love popped up all around me. In the fall, I participated in Rent. We sang Seasons of Love at least once a class, and I felt the nagging of what it meant to show up for who you love and what you love. I took Mr. Bird's English elective on John Milton, where we read Paradise Lost. We circled back to the significance and existence of love between humans, with God, and with ourselves every night in Bullfinch. The proverbial straw that broke the camel's back, though, was the dinner I shared with the girls in Johnson one term in the fall, I believe, actually. I'm not sure if I have the timeline spot on, but our house counselors ordered us heaps, and I mean heaps, of Chinese takeout. And obviously this came with other heaps of fortune cookies, and so we all dug in and took like 10. And rounding on my third fortune, I smashed the cookie by accident, and I tentatively opened up the folded piece of paper. Actually, you know what? I think I keep it in my phone case. I have it right here for everyone to see it. And the fortune said one word. It said love, written, right here. And kind of like clockwork, and obviously not all at once, I found my long-lost friend, Love. And yeah, I found my friend the day after that, too, and I remember so vividly dragging him out of the library and recalling the ways I showed love, affection, and communication. I looked him in the eyes and I said, you know what? We're being children. And I know I was terrible in the fall, and I want you to know that I can't lose you as a friend, David, because I really do love you. And I cried after that. And he didn't really know what to do. He kind of just stood there. But for once, I was okay with not getting a hug in return. I didn't expect one. People do show love in their own ways. I'd say the spring has been redeeming in a sense, not because I've finally been able to hug and be with my loved ones, but because I've had the opportunity to acknowledge the love that radiates off every member in this community, albeit in extremely different forms. And when I leave this place, and this is cliche, I won't remember half the readings I did in the Milton elective or half the music I learned for Ragtime or Rent, but I'll remember and perpetually find meaning in all the small moments in which I felt such overwhelming love. And blowing up condom balloons with Yes Plus, walking the long hall back to the quads after a long night in silent, and blasting Jason Derulo in the girls' locker with my teammates Haley, Gwen, and Cassidy. As my friend Azzy says, these are our core memories, the ones you'll always hold on to, the ones you'll never forget. And while I know we have so much work to do to improve this community, God, I hope we all hold on to our core memories, full of love.
Memories frozen, fossilized, afraid of the past, so petrified. 'Cause I just don't know how to let go. It's forever you're inside my bones. Your DNA, I can't forget. Washing away the emptiness. Yeah, your voice is just an echo. But it's the only thing I need to know that you're alive. Your light will never die. So I follow in the middle of the night, find my way. And my consolation.
Hello, everyone. So lovely to see you all. Classes are over. Happy faces. I'm old. Thank you very much for inviting me to speak this evening. In thinking of the topic, I asked myself, what is the most important advice I'll give to my daughter Layla, who is graduating with you? The choice was obvious. There are so many lessons, life lessons, that I wish I could share with you before you embark upon this exciting phase of your adult life. Most things you will have to learn on your own through experience. However, there is one area where a little advice and some preventive measures could go a long way. Although a top 10 list is not enough to teach you everything you need to know about financial literacy, I hope these concepts will encourage you to be proactive with your financial choices and make wise and responsible decisions with your money. Some of these recommendations apply to life, not just to finances. So here is Mr. Alam's top 10 list. Number 1, invest in yourself. Going to college is a great start, and it is perhaps the best investment at this time. Simply put, stay in school. Now, some of you are taking, by the way, a gap year. I'm not talking to you, so long you go back to school next year. 2, recognize that your greatest asset is your age. Most of us would trade anything for your youth. You can afford to make educated risk financially without gambling with your money. This is because you have the time to make mistakes and rebound. Albert Einstein said, and I quote, "Compound interest is the 8th wonder of the world. He who understands it earns it, and he who doesn't pays it." The power of compounding can do wonders for you. Number 3, differentiate between assets and liabilities. Buy assets and keep away from liabilities. As they say, assets feed you and liabilities eat you. 4, educate yourself on financial matters. Whether you are planning to be a physicist or a poet, you owe it to yourself to be financially literate. If you haven't already taken a course on the subject, make sure you take a few. Take classes on finance, economics, and business. Read The Economist, The Wall Street Journal, and other informative publications on a regular basis. 5, I'm halfway there. No matter how much or how little you earn, pay yourself first. That is, invest a portion of your pre-tax dollars on a consistent basis. I would suggest a minimum of 15%. 6, seek financial help or advice from knowledgeable people only. Don't ask inexperienced or uninformed friends or family members, even though they care about you. 7, this rule is deceptively Simple. It'll live. This rule is deceptively simple. Don't spend what you don't have. Duh. Make a budget and stick to it. Leveraging is a great tool to build wealth, but over-leveraging can devastate you financially. 8, be sure to understand the difference between wants and needs. You may feel tempted to buy the latest gadgets, but do you really need it? You will soon be bombarded with credit card applications, and you will have to exert self-control not to charge all the latest gear to your Visa. If you keep buying things that you don't need, soon you will have to sell things that you do need. I'll say it again. If you keep buying things that you don't need, very soon you will have to sell things that you actually need. 9, one of the world's wealthiest people, Warren Buffett, and is perhaps the most frugal and grounded investor. Notice I said frugal, I didn't say cheap. Nobody want to hang out with cheap people. He advises everyone to be true to his or her inner card. He's referring to being true to one's financial situation and not doing things to show or for show. If you find yourself living in a fantasy world so you can impress your friends and people around you, you are doomed to fail financially. Finally, and more important, be a person of principle. No matter what, and no matter who's watching or not watching, do the right thing, because it is the right thing to do. Make financial decisions, like all decisions, with integrity. Pursue your dreams, enjoy life, make use of your good talents, but keep in mind that money is a reality of daily life. And while money cannot buy you love, it can provide security, and when used properly, can increase everyone's prosperity. Thank you for being you. I wish you the very best in your future endeavors. Please come back and visit. Phillips Academy will always be your home. Thank you.
This is about to be the most epic admissions Instagram post, right here. I only have the account for 3 more days, so. Thank you to the Pereski Commons team for this delicious meal and for taking such good care of us all year long. Thank you to Mr. Ventry and Mr. El-Alam and to Bennett and Bianca for their thoughtful remarks this evening. Mr. Ventry, I hope you will show the class of 21 how to do the hustle tomorrow night at prom. Thank you to the Jazz Ensemble and Photon for their amazing performances. And thank you to Mrs. Savino and everyone on her team for putting together this event and for the beautiful picnic blankets everyone is sitting on. Thank you to Dr. Kington for asking me to speak today. I think it's only fitting that a member of the admissions team close out tonight's community convocation. After all, for most of you students, it was Team Schumann who first welcomed you to the Andover community. By the way, Bennett, we didn't make a mistake. That was me. Whether you interviewed with one of us, and I interviewed 15 of you, that's 5% of the senior class, met us on the road while we were recruiting, there are 18 of you from the great state of New Jersey. Let's go. Or whether you held up a sign that said, "Say yes to Andover," standing next to Mr. Ventry or Mr. Palfrey at your revisit day, it was our distinct pleasure to welcome you to the Big Blue. As many of you know, I am leaving Andover this summer and moving to California. So as someone in my dorm said the other night, it's kind of like my senior spring too. I hope you'll allow me to graduate alongside you on Sunday, although it took me 22 years to finish Andover. For most of you, it only took 3 or 4, although the last 15 months have felt like 7 years. You have all impressed us with your fortitude and your resolve through all of the challenges. Fast forward to today, you're getting ready for your graduation day. This is so exciting. And the members of Team Schumann and all the other faculty, staff, and administrators on campus, we are so happy and grateful to have been part of your journey. Whether we were your admission officer that read your application, your house counselor, so much love to the bank. Whether we were your advisor, your college counselor, your CAMD or BRACE director, shout out to Ms. Springer and Dr. Vidal up there. Whether we were your coach, your athletic director, Lisa, my speech. It's here, it's okay. Or your athletic trainer, or your conductor, your director, your instructor, your cluster dean, your class dean. Shout out to Ms. Candelario. Where are you, Dean Candelario?
Do I have it back?
It has been an honor, truly. We love you, we're very proud of you, and we wish you all the best on your next adventure. Now, if you would all please pack up your picnic blanket and deposit your food in the receptacles in the back corners. Please proceed to Snyder for a special dessert and senior slideshow. Thank you so much.